Hi everyone, welcome to my lightning talk. Thank you for joining me. My name is Ian Del Rio. I'll be covering some super sponsorship strategies that you can use to raise funding for your hackathons more effectively. So quick background, I'm a computer science student at the University of British Columbia, and over the past year I worked as a sponsorship coordinator for NW+, where we organized the biggest hackathon in the Pacific Northwest and the biggest local hack day in North America. So I will be flying through these five essential stages of sponsor acquisition and retention pipeline. The first is outreach, which includes cold emailing and follow-up emails, securing sponsors, tracking sponsors, day of tips and tricks, and sponsor retention strategies. So with that, let's kick it off with outreach. So first of all, for cold emailing, conciseness is key. So you should be asking about interest in the email, not sending through your sponsorship package or anything like that. So let me just walk you through it really quickly. This is my cold emailing template. First thing you're going to notice is that I'm introducing myself and I'm saying who I am. Second thing is who my club is. And the third thing is, are you interested? That's it. That's all you should do. And hopefully that they'll be able to read that really quickly and reply to you, yes, I'm interested, or no, no, thank you. In case they don't reply, which they won't, because a fun statistic for you, 70% of the companies that I reached out to that ended up replying didn't reply on the first email. So you need to have a follow-up schedule. What I would typically do is I would send out my first email on Tuesdays, follow up 2 days later on Thursdays, and then if I didn't hear back from them then, follow up the following week on Tuesday. And if they didn't reply after 3 times, you can pretty much assume that they're committed to ghosting you, unfortunately. So it's a slight modification to the email, but it's still very short and concise. After that, we have securing sponsors. So once a sponsor has expressed interest in your hackathon, what you want to do is you want to get them a document that basically locks the deal. So in this document, you're going to have just an overview of the hackathon, the nature of the document, what the intention is, it's a proposal. Second of all is the perks and payment. This is really, really important. This is where you write down the perks that the sponsor will be getting in exchange for the funding that they'll be giving you. And last of all, and the payment information, which is very important as well. The amount, the PayPal information, the check information, like the address, things like that. And then last of all, sponsor deliverables. So things that you need from the sponsor, like their logos, their prizes that they've committed, things like that. After that, you need to make sure that you give yourself enough time for the document to circulate through a legal department if necessary. Some companies do need that to happen. So you want to send out this document about 1 month before the hackathon at the most. After that, you want to be tracking sponsors throughout the whole process. So what we used at MW Plus was this little software called Notion. Notion is wonderful, it's amazing, it's free. It's basically a database, but better. And what we track in this sponsorship database is the contact information of the sponsor, the sponsorship coordinator in charge, and the status that the sponsor was in. And as you can see, there is a bit of a pipeline when it comes to sponsors and their stages. After that, once they've accepted a position, you say the amounts or the tier that they chose, and then the deliverables and to-dos, just to keep track of where they are in the process, who needs to send in what. Now we're talking about during the hackathon. So you've gotten your sponsors, hopefully you got a ton of funding so you can give a great experience to your hackers. What do you do during the hackathon? So you need to welcome the sponsors, and welcoming sponsors is key because that's your introduction. It's the first impression, the first time you'll be meeting the sponsors, not via email, face-to-face. So you want to make sure that the sponsorship coordinator that was in charge of coordinating with that sponsor greets them at the door, in person. You want to probably have a sign-in and a sign-out sheet to kind of keep track of who's in and who's not. Here's a quick example on the slide. And after that, you have your check-ins and your goodbyes. So by check-in, I mean going to the booth every, 2-3 hours, making sure that everything's okay with them, asking them if they need coffee, things like that. A good idea that we found is to have a break room for sponsors and for mentors so that they can, hang out, have some coffee, talk with other mentors and sponsors, somewhere where the sponsorship coordinators can just be there for questions. And during sign-outs, what we found helpful was to write handwritten thank you cards. And I know it takes a lot of time, but it's the extra details that really makes sponsors want to come back next year. Which brings me to my last point. retention strategies. So on top of the gratitude that I just mentioned, I think that feedback is a great way for sponsors to want to be committed and come back next year, because you can say, hey, we're incorporating your feedback. These are the things that we're going to be changing. Thank you so much for attending. And so I think that post-hackathon, it's really, really important to follow up with your sponsors. And with that, my 5 minutes are up. Thank you very much for listening to my talk. And reach out to me if you want. I'll send out my email. Thank you very much.